Okay guys, so I'm very excited to do a video about some really fantastic information. But before I start, this is the business. This is me at the age of 48 and counting, with no refeeds, being in ketosis. I used to be a pro skateboarder. I busted my knee. I had 10 surgeries, so I can't run, jump, lunge, or squat. And this is the by-effect of being in ketosis. So for people who stumble on my videos, then you're going to hear that and realize that the potential for your epigenetic freaking, optimum health is beyond measure. It's amazing. But here we go. So I have a client that I've been sort of working with off and on, or she's stayed in contact with me, and we started it over a year ago. She couldn't get into ketosis. She actually was coming from sort of like, had gone through like a fitness competition, and was wanting to stay lean without doing the carb cycling and the depletion of your glycogen and the potential of metabolic derangement from those types of dieting. Was hoping that keto would make her more healthy, of course, put her more in a healthy zone, plus be able to have a low body fat and still maintain health. Here we go. So she tried keto, she failed. She came to me, we both failed together. Both of us could not understand why her glucose was so high, and it just kept getting higher. So at one point, she's telling me a story that she was going to the auto shop and she was waiting for a car, and she started feeling hypoglycemic. She went to the bathroom. She went down to the floor because she couldn't stand. She just was so depleted of all energy, she couldn't even hold her body up. And she got her cell phone out. She called her boyfriend and said, please bring me like something that'll raise my blood glucose back up because I'm feeling hypoglycemic. Which he did, and then he gave her like Coke and just real high in sugar, and she shot up too high in sugar and then started throwing up. It was a hot mess, okay? And she still kept trying to keto adapt. I still was trying to help her keto adapt, but that glucose was like 150 and higher. Unfortunately, that's type 2 diabetes. Those numbers, not good. I was like, you need to go to a doctor, because at this point, and the thing is, she would go back on the carbs, her glucose was high. She would go off the carbs and high fat, her glucose was high. So I was like, you need to go to a specialist. But then a year has passed. She contacted me, because that's the short of a long story. So she contacts me, and she's like, Stephanie, so many things were going on. Now at the time, I was like, really just starting to learn about gut dysbiosis, about adrenal dysfunction, things of this nature. But with the information she came back at with me, with doing a lot of testing, organic acid testing, and working with her functional doctor, I'm going to read some of her symptoms, because a lot of this described to you guys without having the extremely high glucose. But these were some of the precursor symptoms that we couldn't figure things out a year ago. Now I'm more adept to understand. I'm more clear. I've learned a lot more. So here we go. Here we go. All right. So I'm just going to summarize some of these things. So what she found out, which I think a lot of you guys have, is she had high C-reactive protein. Right? So C-reactive proteins are autoimmune markers that you can check in the blood. Yes. You want to check for antibodies or C-reactive protein. These are some of the things that you want to test for. Blood sugar and whatnot. She also had a parasite and candida. Obviously, the gut infection. Probably leaky gut as well. She didn't write that here, but that's what I'm assuming. Stage 2 adrenal fatigue. Now we know that she had impaired glucose and blood sugar dysfunction because her glucose was too high, and she had a problem digesting her fats. Yes. She also had low iron, low vitamin D, and couldn't hold on to her B's. So she needed a little mitochondria support. And so what her functional doctor, I'm going to explain those symptoms and whatnot. prescribed was carnitine, obviously B vitamins. She did the organic acid test from Genova Labs. She started taking selenium, B's, carnitine, CoQ10. Some people will do selenium with kelp iodine. These are typical adrenal support protocols. For the issues with digesting fat, she did betaine HCl, digestive enzymes, and ox bile, which ox bile will help to scrub down the fats, because some of you guys have issues with your breaking down your fats. And then she did blood sugar stabilizers like chromium and whatnot. There's other things like prickly pear, and there's cinnamon. Yeah, so basically, if I go back to some of the issues she had, now we kept discussing things in this chat, and her functional doctor thought she might actually have lupus because her immune function was so impaired, so screwed up, so jacked up, so, you know, maybe she has the MTHFR gene mutation. I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. But a lot of you guys, not all of you, a lot of you guys have gut issues. A lot of you guys have stage 2 or stage 3 adrenal fatigue, or as I like to call it, stage 2, stage 3 adrenal dysfunction, because of course your adrenals never completely fatigue, so duh. A lot of you guys have digesting fats and your HCl levels are too low, and some of you guys who are estrogen dominant tend to have issues with your gallbladder. So this is a client story, and you guys need to wake up. And it might be time to start thinking about that organic acid testing. Yes, these are things that nobody considers. Like the gut dysbiosis issue, it's like, really? Of course. If you have a gut dysbiosis, if you had a half of a antibiotic when you were 2 years old, that's going to wipe out your gut flora. Yes. People are like, oh, I had antibiotics so long ago. I'm like, your gut just doesn't repopulate back to normal. There are people with such low healthy flora in their colon that they have this transplantation, this fecal transplantation from babies who've got all the bacteria strains that you would need for optimum health, because your immune system is right here. It's not here or there or there. No! You guys are not losing weight because you're inflamed. And why are you inflamed? A lot of you guys have a gut dysbiosis. She had parasites and candida. And people are like, ew, and I'm like, you all have it. Trust. Yeah. When things that don't help are water, the water with so much crap in it, the fluoride in it, that really can help create and contribute to that gut dysbiosis, even if you've never had an antibiotic. Sugar makes those types of parasites, little creatures, and candida overgrow, which completely damage cells. They can even make it up to your brain cells. And a lot of you guys who are fuzzy-brained or, fuzzy-brained and, fuzzy-brained and also are super tired and crave sugar, sometimes it's the candida craving these types of foods. I've mentioned before, a lot of you guys who crave chocolate tend to be low in zinc and magnesium, and that's why you crave the chocolate, the dark chocolate. I digress. So, I was like, we were going back and forth in the conversation. I was like, oh my God, I almost said her name a few times. I was like, oh my God. Totally, because it's what I've been learning so much about lately, is how important gut balance is, because this can help affect your adrenals. Now, her gut was out of whack, which meant that her adrenals were out of whack, which also meant that she could not stabilize her blood sugar and was turning into sort of pre-diabetic or diabetic insulin resistance. A lot of you guys have these same type of markers. You have these inflammatory markers. You don't even know it. I just came back from the gym. I'm talking to a 22-year-old, which ironically he thought I was 30, and I was like, oh, thank you. But no, I mean, the point was, this is a kid who's going to go into medical school next year and already taking some biology classes. We got all into talking about, like, you know, muscle biology and physiology, and then we started inching our way over to keto. And it's so funny how he couldn't understand some concepts. He also could not understand, like, eat fat, lose weight. Like, that was really hard for him to understand. But the point is that he kept saying that he was on a pre-workout during our talk at the gym, and that his caffeine was wearing out, and his energy was zapping. And he's like, so do you have energy? And I was like, all day long. Yeah, all day long. And so I explained keto, and then he started kind of semi-grasping the concept. And then he's like, I'm going to look into that more. And I said, yes, but he's not the problem. The point is that if he is already so exhausted all the time, that's what he said. I wake up, I'm exhausted. I crash in the afternoon, and I can't get through a workout without a pre-workout of caffeine, then that's how you develop adrenal dysfunction. This woman is in her mid to sort of late 30s. This cat is in his early 20s, and this is where the damage starts. So we started talking about the amount of coffee he consumes, his testosterone levels we started talking about, and it all started making sense. You guys have to do your due diligence and learn more about the human body. There is no school of ketogenesis. So when people want the science, I laugh my ass off. My science is working with almost 1,000 people, and you can't get any more than that. Well, where's your PhD? Well, I had to convince a kid who's going through the medical program that fat doesn't make you fat, and explaining how ketones work, because in his mind, if you eat fat, you're going to have a heart attack. And I was like, you see how we can be conditioned to learn the wrong things and not even know it. So this particular individual, which if you're watching, one of the biggest issues, I believe, is her inability to go to bed early. That even if you have a hard time methylating, even if you have a disease, maybe she has an underlying disease, yes, and that's something we also discussed. She has a lot of markers. The C-reactive protein is also, it's pretty scary. You know, you don't want to get cancer. You don't want to have an autoimmune disease, but she's up there in that. If people were to live in a more present state, to be grounded, to get your feet in the soil, stop being distracted, and learn about the importance of health, she might have been able to methylate enough to not have these symptoms come out, even though she has a propensity to develop, perhaps, disease. It's very, very important that you guys stop looking at keto as a weight loss thing. That you're walking around with all this stuff that I always talk about the adrenals, because I realize that's it, yo. That is the key to the crypt that we've got to open up and learn more about. If I'm talking to a 22-year-old who's exhausted, we were trying to figure out his body fat percent, because he was very developed in the shoulders and in the forearms and biceps. He looked quite big, but when he lifted his shirt, he had a gut. I didn't see the gut because he had a t-shirt, but he was very bloated. His gut was like literally out to here. He's like, what's my body fat? Like 15? I was like, dude, no. Or he's like, 18? I was like, no. I'm not high. Yes, you're higher. You look like 23 or 24% body fat. Yeah. So it's really interesting. And then we also talked about, do calories matter and all that crap. That's it, you guys. I wanted to share this one particular client story. What she's got to do is get to bed. That's the thing that I think is the biggest issue with her healing process. That you can take a bunch of adaptogenic herbs. You can take, like I said, the Ds, the B complex, the seleniums, the CoQ10s, and that will help. But ultimately, your body won't be able to repair itself unless you're able to get to bed incredibly early and reach that deep REM state sleep that a lot of you guys actually don't reach. Woo! So these are the things. That's why keto goes in 3-month chunks. How do I know? Where can you read that? You can't read that anywhere. I learned that from coaching so many people. That's what I learned. So if you guys want to learn more, go to StephaniePerson.com, Stephanie the Business Person on my Facebook fan page, or Stephanie Ketogenic on my Instagram. And you know what?